Okay.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Daily Herold here on Badlands Media. I'm your host, Jon Herold, and I think I have a pretty good show lined up for you guys today because I will not be doing it alone. I decided I pissed off everybody enough yesterday that I would have somebody else come on to piss you off instead, and that person is Ash. So it's going to be good. We're going to cover like 4 topics or so. So I'm going to get right to it after we get a quick word from our sponsors. So Ash, sit tight. You guys sit tight. Let's listen to some Rise Attire.
What is the Sovereign Alliance? The Sovereign Alliance are a collection of leaders and countries that are aligned not in the vision for their countries, but against a vision that has been thrust upon them. I believe that the Sovereign Alliance is less a battle for something and more a battle against something. They are against globalism, collectivism. They are against the rules-based international order.
Sovereign Alliance, the latest addition to Badlands Rise merch, available now at badlandsmedia.tv/rise.
I think we need to add Maduro, like give him the thumbs up into the Sovereign Alliance graphic with the bear and the eagle and everything. I think that'd be cool. We also have Unicity, and we'll get to our soft disclosure a little bit later here. And then, but right after this, I'll bring Ash on.
You deserve more than sluggish mornings and blood sugar spikes. Discover the simple daily system that helped so many regain health without dieting or exercise routines. 2 easy-to-take daily drinks. A brain-boosting, appetite-suppressing morning blend that ushers in energy and clarity. A hearty, fiber-packed pre-meal drink that stabilizes blood sugar, aids digestion, and fights cravings. It's a gentle, science-backed path to improved metabolism, renewed vitality, and lasting weight control. Feeling better starts with this simple 2-step daily protocol.
Badlandshealth.com. I drink this stuff every day. The tea, the yerba mate. Love it. Okay, Ash. What is up? How you doing?
There's a lot of stuff up.
Yeah, we're going to talk about it all.
Yeah. We have a little bit of breaking news on Tina Peters, which I haven't even written this up yet, but the government responded. So she had put out a motion to vacate jurisdiction in the Colorado courts, saying that they didn't have jurisdiction because of her pardon. And so the state had until yesterday to respond, and they did. It's 23 pages, and I am still going through it. It appears to be all of the expected arguments at this point, right?
They said they were going to fight it, weren't they?
Yep. Yeah, because the long-standing precedent is that the president can't pardon state offenses, and courts have dealt with narrow instances of this. A court has never dealt with the arguments being forwarded by Tina Peters in this motion. I'm not all the way through it, so I don't through the government's response. And the government's response is AG Phil Weiser and DA Dan Rubenstein, the people that put her in prison. AG Weiser running for governor right now and using his office as a campaign platform.
So when you say something like this has never been argued before, is it because we haven't seen a pardon attempt at a state level like this before?
Well, we have seen pardon attempts, but we haven't seen the specific specific arguments about the pronouns that are being forwarded. So you might remember Peter Tickton came out, I think he was on Bannon, Real America's Voice, or Steve, I think it was on Steve Bannon, and talked about the pronouns that the United States framers used when talking about the federal government in the framing of both the original amendments and the Reconstruction amendments. So when they're talking about presidential authorities and they're talking about these United States, they are using they, them pronouns. I fucking love this story. They're using they, them pronouns, and that means that the president's authorities extend into these United States. And so that's the argument that they're making. That'll be interesting. Courts could just throw it out. This is before the Colorado Court of Appeals in the state of Colorado. So
We haven't seen anybody argue pronouns
I
before?
don't think we've seen
Not
the
in
United
regards to the United States?
pronouns. Yeah.
Wow.
It's just such a good narrative moment in the info war to have the United States' pronouns save the day.
Yeah. I didn't even realize that was happening.
Yeah.
I can't wait now to see the result. I mean, obviously, I've been waiting to see what happens with Tina Peters, and I've always thought it was an interesting case because, I mean, does the president have authority? That's something we really don't know. This makes it even just that much more exciting.
Well, when I read their appeal, and it's on, I think it's on my socials or my Substack. I'll find it and post a link to it today. But when I read the Tina Peters original motion to vacate jurisdiction, I've been very critical of this whole pardon path, right? I've been saying since Trump was elected, but before he even took office, that we're dealing with a Rocky Mountain showdown, and the state of Colorado is so drunk on federal spending that it's going to get really interesting as Trump starts to take it away. That is the primary lever that without doing novel legal things, the withholding of discretionary funding is a primary lever that Trump can use to affect change in the state of Colorado. It's one of his only ones that is entirely lawful and not asking them to do something new legally, right? And we're seeing that I crushed that prediction because we're seeing him withhold the discretionary funding on all fronts. And they're wigging about it. But this part of as a long way of saying I was pleasantly surprised when I read Tina Peters' motion on vacating jurisdiction because of the pardon. Thought it was actually pretty good. And I don't know if they'll say yes. I think they might just say, nope, it's precedent set. It is what it is. But the motion itself is pretty good.
Did Peter Tickton write that one?
Stephanie Lambert, I believe, is the one who is the legal mind, according to Peter Tickton. That was also on Steve Bannon. He, when he was talking about the original letter, remember the letter dated December 6th that was asking for President Trump to pardon Tina Peters, and then we got the pardon, but the pardon itself was dated December 5th, which was interesting because it was, it seemed like it wasn't in response to the letter. But that letter, when he was doing a press circuit on that letter, he said that it was Stephanie Lambert who was kind of the legal brain behind it. He said, it's my, this is her legal work. It's my name on it. It's basically,
sure.
I would imagine.
And so next steps, we're waiting for Tina's team to respond, I'm assuming.
They'll respond by January 8th. As things stand right now, the oral argument in her actual appeal, so the merits of her appeal for her appeal of her criminal conviction from August of last year, that is set for January 14th at 2:30 p.m. here in Colorado courts. The media order is pretty wild. They're actually requiring to approve the editorial standards of press outlets before they grant them the ability to cover the hearing. I think, John, that I think this is in response to us.
How do we make sure we do but somehow don't qualify? You know what I mean? Badge of honor,
well,
but also...
I don't think they'll qualify, but I'm not kidding when I say that I think this expansive Colorado court media order is in response to us and our coverage of the Trump 14th Amendment trial, where I was doxxed and Badlands was put on notice and they lied about everything that was going on and all of that. Now they're saying that they need to approve the editorial standards of the outlet before they allow them to cover an event. I personally don't think the government can do that. I was talking to somebody about it today and they're like, well, yeah, but who's going to stop them? I'm like, well, someone needs to. How do you do that? Well, you have to sue them. It's like, well, do I really want to get
one lawsuit at a time, Ash? Let's settle down. Okay. But that is funny though, putting a limit on, or they have to approve the what was it? The editorial
guidelines and standards. Yeah.
Of somebody else's outlet before determining whether or not they can cover the case.
Yeah,
that seems
I
like
sent it to Brian. I'm like, it is the First Amendment. That's exactly what I'm saying. I do not believe that this is lawful. I don't think that they can do it, but it's a matter of they will do, especially in Colorado, they'll do whatever the hell they want until they're forced to stop. I mean, in fact, I had the Deputy Secretary of State, Chris Beall, who's it's now a Perkins Coie guy, Andrew Klein, but back when I was at trial, he was the Deputy Secretary of State. And I asked him about open records, because we've never gotten open records from Jenna Griswold here. It's like she doesn't exist. When you ask for her emails or anything, no matter how narrow, no matter what, nothing ever gets produced for Jenna Griswold. Like, she doesn't work. So I was asking Chris Beal when I had him under oath in federal court, I was asking him on the stand, like, how does it work in the office? Like, just like, when I ask for records, what happens? And he basically said, well, the buck stops with me unless a court overrules me. They will do whatever they want unless they're challenged. And, challenging them is not always easy. I just pulled in that thing here.
Yeah, I'm pulling in that thing right now too.
Yeah. But that's the requirements for media credentials must be submitted with the following information for consideration to the chief communications officer. 1, provide proof of assignment from an accredited media outlet. 2, written explanation of the use of any video, audio, or still photography requested. 3, demonstration of public prior publications about the Colorado court system. We'd be like, hey, you guys remember us. Yep. Judiciary or related legal issues within the past year. Information on audience reach, traffic data, number of subscribers, description of platforms for all digital content, digital platform usernames and links, copies of written policies on editorial standards, ethical guidelines, research and fact-checking procedures, or professional conduct, names and contact information of editors, producers, and editorial board members. So I think that's entirely unlawful.
Yeah. I mean, even the part above that where they're like, social media content creators, citizen journalists must represent well-established law-related or legal technology-related outlets.
Yeah. Yeah. And this
bullshit.
is so Obsidian Group versus Cox is, I believe it's a 9th Circuit case. I don't think it went all the way to the Supreme Court. I think she settled after the appeal. But Crystal Cox actually enshrined that, at least into that circuit's precedent, that bloggers and podcasters, etc., alt media personalities, right, have the institutional press has no greater rights or benefits than you or me or any citizen journalist talking about a matter of public interest. This has already been decided. But again, they'll do, Colorado will say, well, we're not in the 9th Circuit. We're in the 10th Circuit. And it's never been decided here. So we can totally infringe upon the First Amendment.
So
I know. I really want to fight them, but it's a lot of work,
If I cared about Colorado, maybe I'd fight them, but I have your back. I support you fully if you decide to go to battle against this over this hearing. I don't know.
I kind of want to, because it's bullshit. I did send it to I'm a part of a group of a bunch of, kind of alt bloggers and podcasters here in Colorado that all focus on different aspects of Colorado. I sent it to that group. Maybe we join forces and
there you go. I can get behind something like that. Let's keep going here, because there's a few other topics I wanted to talk to you about while you were on, and I think we should probably. Can you define regime change for me? Like, what is your definition of a regime change?
Yeah, so I mean, I can see this whole thing both ways. My definition of regime change is that the regime is ousted, not just a leader taken out of power, right? It's like, so if we were talking about the Colorado Department of State, just to use an example, if you take out Jenna Griswold, but you leave Andrew Klein and Judd Choate and all of the people running all of the things, then you're not changing the regime. You're just swapping out the figurehead.
But what if how that group operates completely changes? You know what I mean? Like, instead of replacing an entire top level leadership, you just take out the head, but then you're like, I'll leave the rest of you, but you no longer get to operate as you want to. You're going to operate the way I want you to. I mean, it's a complete change.
I think that's an operational change. I don't think it's a regime change.
So the personnel is the matter when it comes to regime change.
Certainly, from a who sits in the seats of power and wields the authority of the state. Yeah.
Anyway, I just had to do that because everybody's mad at my definition of regime change, and so
I think there's a faction that wants it to be regime change. John Bolton, right? I sent you that video. I don't know if you have that. I have it if you want me to pull it in.
Yeah. Getting to the tab right now. I just gotta find it.
Yeah. So like, there's we see a lot of people cheering on what happened in Venezuela, and they're the same people that are awaiting the installation of Maria Corina Machado. And it's so it seems like so the stories of the Tina Peters pardon and the Venezuelan thing are connected in my head because they're both Patrick Byrne related stories. And
Isn't that funny?
I'm going to draw another parallel to the case, right? We saw this pressure campaign to have President Trump pardon Tina Peters, and it was on all fronts. And at the time, I speculated, I think I might have even come on here and talked about this, that they were trying to set it up so President Trump was going to be responsible if she doesn't get out, right? If by Christmas she doesn't get out, it's going to be his fault, because all he had to do was pardon her. And then he did pardon her, but he did it in a way that disarmed that whole narrative of how they were asking him to pardon her. And also the timing was off, right? The pardon was dated December 5th. The letter and all the pressure campaign was dated December 6th. That kind of same thing is happening here. I think there's been a lot of pressure for Trump to go in and take out Maduro, right? And install Maria Corina Machado, and the CIA and the WEF and the UN can run Venezuela continuing, right? But he's not doing that. He did what appears, I think, by anybody with eyes, to be a targeted extraction of him and his wife. He looks fine. I saw reports that his wife has bruised ribs or something, but
Zach said it was like her face, like she got hit with the butt of a gun or whatever. But he didn't see a picture either. That's what he heard. So I don't know. Unconfirmed reports, probably nothing.
Yeah, but when you see, like, one of the things that has always kind of worked in the President Trump, the deciphering what's going on with President Trump, one of the things that's always worked for me is, who is he pissing off? And what is the response to Trump kind of just defines a little bit where it's going. And I think this one is a good one.
Yeah, let's take a listen to this.
Maduro has been extracted. But I think what you didn't get from that press conference today is that he may be gone, but the regime is still there. And the notion of how you're going to change that is very, very much up in the air. And what I
just want you all to realize that you are in agreement with John Bolton over the regime change thing.
to say, the most stunning part about the press conference was probably saying the U.S. was going to run the country. But the second most stunning was the assault on Mrs. Machado, the leader of the Democratic forces, the natural alternative government that Trump just dismissed.
Yeah, Trump said he didn't think she had the respect or support of the country to be able to lead it. They're instead relying on the vice president there. So you support this extraction and capture of Maduro, but you don't support the notion from the president that the United States is somehow going to run Venezuela.
Well, I don't mind doing it temporarily, in the sense that I think on any day after scenario, there's got to be a lot of outside help. When we were looking at this in 2018 and 2019, the administration did do a lot of preparation for the day after, and there would have been a need for a lot of economic advice and assistance. But in the Venezuelan opposition, there is a capacity to govern. And why the Trump administration would think that they're going to be any better at negotiating with what's left of the Maduro regime than anybody else has ever been to convince them to give up power is beyond me. What we should be doing, other than getting ready for military force, is working with the opposition to fragment the remainder of the regime.
This is a great point you brought up here about how Trump will like kind of hijack a narrative. Chris talks about this all the time. He'll go along with it, but he'll hijack it and do it in a way that totally disrupts whatever their op is trying to pull off. Yep. And this video, I think, kind of conclusively proves that, like, that's what he did here. He did the thing. He did the thing with Maduro and got rid of him like everybody wanted him to, but he's not handling the fallout from that situation in the way that they wanted him to by installing Machado or whatever. And they're upset about that. Like, that's such an awkward position to watch a John Bolton be in. And why is he even on CNN? Like, why would you bring John Bolton on as a commentator anyway, other than as anti-Trump?
I mean, he certainly seems so indicted. Right. That's the thing. Like, what's going on? How is this guy still credible? I've been involved in multiple coups d'etat. Not here, but around the world. Yeah, we know, bro. That's what we're hoping is being dismantled, is the U.S. apparatus that's running color revolution operations all over the country to install globalist leaders and then rape the countries of resources that we've seen happen over and over again. And the Machado thing is so funny to me, because she's we've seen a bunch of so-called America First people start appealing to the authority of the Nobel Peace Prize. And it's like, well, hey, hang on a second. Like, why is that a point of credibility? Oh, wait, she's really involved with the World Economic Forum. Again, that's not a selling feature, shouldn't be a selling feature to America First. And then, of course, we have the authors of this book, the Stolen Elections by Ralph Pizzulo book, that says the bravest man in Venezuela is a woman. And it's Maria Corina Machado. Let's not forget that she was like smuggled out on a boat, right? And like saved and rescued. And now I thought that President Trump saying she doesn't have the support. One, if you pay attention, it's true, right? Two, it like you said, hijacks and disarms where they're going with their narrative. Shameless plug, today at 6 p.m. on Badlands Book Club, we are starting over on this book. We're not reading the book. For some of the books we've read, Brian and I have just read the books and then talked about it as we go. We're pretty sure these guys would sue us for reading their book online. And so we're not doing that. We're just discussing it. We're discussing each chapter. Everybody can get this book on Amazon. I hate the idea of selling books for these guys because this is a love letter to the CIA, but that's what we're doing. And Colonel Towner is going to be joining us for this book in its entirety. We're going back to the beginning. We're doing chapters 1 through 4, which we've already done chapters 1 through 4 on the show, but we're going back to the beginning, kind of summarizing from an Operation Gladio, Condor, CIA color revolution standpoint, who these players are, because there's a lot of, stuff beneath the surface. And there's issues with this book from the way the CIA usually releases whistleblower material. This is different in a number of ways. So 6 p.m. Badlands Book Club, everybody should watch.
That'd be great, especially with Towner on and what's going on in the world currently. Yeah. It's a great guest to have on at this time. Let's go on to we'll move away from the Venezuela topic. Let's talk about Mamdani and his communism that he's rolling out.
Yeah. So Mamdani on January 1st signed a bunch of executive orders. The biggest one that's getting headlines right now is the housing related executive orders. He has revitalized the mayor's office to protect tenants and installed a woman named Sia Weaver. I think that's how you say Sia. I think I have no Chea. I have no idea. Chea might work because she's pretty fucking communist. Sorry, I know you don't curse on this show. Well, I'm trying not to curse. Trying this year not to curse, and it's not going well.
You can curse. If I do curse, then it's curse jar, swear jar.
Oh yeah.
But you have free reign to curse as much as you'd like.
But
this is the order I have up on the screen here. Yeah. Executive Order 3.
The first line, the very first, whereas we're entitled to inhabitable homes, right? This is a very Marxist endeavor for housing equity. The video of Sia Weaver is going around with her talking about white families are going to have a different relationship with property than we've had. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I'm pulling it up right now. This is
with that one. I have other clips of her as well.
I'm pulling up the one from your Twitter.
Yeah.
This is the lady who's in charge of housing now, right?
Yes.
Okay.
I think the reality is that for centuries we've really treated property as an individualized good and not a collective good, and we are going to transitioning to treating it as a collective good and towards a model of shared equity will require that we think about it differently, and it will mean that families, especially white families, but some POC families who are homeowners as well, are going to have a different relationship to property than the one that we currently have.
A different relationship to property than the one we currently have.
Yeah. Nuts. Which it sounds like they're going to seize property. And this is not the only time that she's talked about this. Here, I'll play this one. You're going to like this.
At $5 billion, we hope to be able to set up and staff the agency, but also build new housing across the state, as well as acquire distressed housing across the state. The mechanisms for acquiring distressed housing could look different on a building by building basis. In some cases, what happens is tenants form a tenant association. They have a scofflaw landlord or someone who's not making repairs, and they could pressure, using organizing tactics, they could pressure to the Social Housing Development Authority to take over their homes, to buy their homes. In other cases, it might happen through like a legal process. A couple of days ago, one of the most notorious slumlords in the city, his name is Shalom. He was arrested because he is treating his tenants so badly, hundreds of thousands of open code violations. In cases like that, where the city is actively pursuing already sort of litigation and enforcement mechanisms against the landlord, the SHDA is an option. We can say, hey, you know, you are not maintaining this building, and we are the city of New York. We have an interest in making sure that housing is well maintained, and we're going to take this building away from you.
Would you need a host of like a new suite of regulations?
So
Like
we're
they're just
just
gonna
gonna
take it from you.
Yeah, let's take it. Because we're the city of New York and we have an interest in making sure that housing is well maintained. And so we're just going to take this building from you. And that's certainly not an arbitrary line that, you know, housing is not well maintained. That's not a line that would be abused by government, right?
No.
Yeah. So she has
Never.
long hair in both of those clips. So they're older clips. She is she came out of University Bryn Mawr in 2010 and has been kind of a housing justice advocate. She's a, you know, open member of the DSA. I think she was on one of the, you know, city DSA plan, Democrat Socialists of America. They run my state, so particularly interested in everything that they're doing. My state is cheering on this move by Mamdani. They all want that. But she has long hair in those. Those are older clips where she's been involved in a number of housing related activist actions, legal actions, councils and NGOs and all of that kind of stuff. Now she has shorter hair. She has kind of that Janet Yellen penis haircut going on. And this video is just from October of last year, as you know, so just a few months before she's appointed.
We should really look to what Brandon Johnson and as well as the Chicago Teachers Union is doing to really use the schools and the city as sites of resistance against the federal incursion. If you're comfortable in your coalition, you're not winning power. If ICE and the National Guard are coming to New York City, ICE is already here. If the National Guard is coming on January 1st, which we know they are, we really have to use our tenant associations and our parent teacher associations and our public schools as like networks of defense in support of Saran's agenda and in support of our neighbors. We should really.
Wow.
Yeah. So we're using schools, parents and teachers associations, tenant associations as resistance to the federal government and immigration enforcement.
I am curious to see how this ends. I want to see somebody in the chat pointed out, I don't remember who it was, but I would love to see them try to go after like one of Trump's buildings. I think that would be a showcase, a battle that could like highlight a lot of things. I think that'd be hilarious.
Yeah, one of the things we saw the DSA do, and I just refer to all Colorado leadership as the DSA because they're being run by the DSA, but what we saw them do with the Venezuelan migrants are taking over, TDA is taking over the apartment buildings thing.
Yep, I remember that.
The counter narrative was it's slumlords. Well, these are just, you know, out of state wealthy corporations that own these buildings and they're, you know, total slums. It's not Venezuelan migrant gang activity. It's terrible conditions. And that's why people are, you know, unhappy in these buildings. And that wasn't true. I think those landlords still ended up, they might still be in legal, you know, in litigation right now to protect their interests, but they were seizing their building. Now, at the same time, we know for a fact, and this is actually now in federal indictment, when the DOJ unsealed those indictments, I think it was last week or the week before, all the TDA criminal cartel unsealed indictment. It's a RICO and it's in across like 11 jurisdictions.
Yep.
That includes a bunch of those crimes for the apartment stuff. So those were tried in state court or dismissed by state court, but they're being revived in that federal RICO for immigration. And I think we're gonna see that the slumlord stuff was at least, I mean, you know, the might not have been a perfectly maintained building, but the slumlord story was not the reason that the apartment building was shut down. The apartment building was shut down was because the slumlords, the so-called slumlords, begged the city for help because their apartment building had been taken over and they couldn't maintain it. They couldn't do anything with it because there was migrant gangs running it.
Which district opened up that case or unsealed it? Was it Florida?
So it's
Southern
the
District,
way
New
it's
York?
listed on the DOJ website is there's this overarching kind of DOJ macro view, and then there's a link to each of the cases within each district. There's several districts involved. I think it was like 11. And so the cases I'm referring to are specifically in the District of Colorado, but there's, District of Oklahoma is involved, and there's this operation is running all over our country.
Wow. Okay, interesting. I'm going to have you back on. I want to talk more about that case maybe in a couple days, but let's finish up your part of the show here with some Dan Bongino, because there's been a lot of talk lately with him coming back and some strife, I would say, and he's coming out. He's holding nothing back. I have 3 posts I want to read of his, and then I have a little back and forth with Matt Gaetz. Pretty interesting. Then we'll talk about it and get you out of here. So first up, this is what he posted originally. Good to see you all. I missed you. Thanks for everything while we worked on cleaning up. Working in the administration was the experience of a lifetime. I'll have some announcements coming up, but I'm taking a couple days off to spend with the family. A couple of things. Thank you for your interest in the show and its return date. We will have something for you soon. The Trump team is not kidding around. It's an otherworldly experience from the other side. He's determined and focused. And having been around quite a few presidents, this one broke the mold. And then finally, if we blocked you, it's because we care so little about your bullshit that we deem it not worthy of even seeing. If you're bitching and whining about it, that means you can't exist without seeing and commenting on ours. You'll need to get over that. We do it because there's nothing black pillars and anti-Trumpers want more than to create division and drama. We're about results, and we'll talk about some of it soon. Love you all, and thanks again, flaming Elmo emoji. And then he reposted. I don't know if you want to comment yet, or...
Well, keep going. We'll go through, and then I'll give you my remarks.
Okay, so this is the quote tweet of that original tweet I just read.
3 million views or something, right?
Yeah, he talks about that in the next one. So let me add this. From the jump, so there's no confusion, I started in this movement as a candidate during the Tea Party movement, and I began my political commentary career shortly after. I helped build this movement, and I sure as hell am not going to let it get hijacked by a group of black pillars, life losers, grifters, and bums. We are a movement guided by truth. The essence of conservative ideology is the preservation of eternal truths. We are not the latest thing group. We are not political cannibals. I've watched quietly from the inside while doing the job I was hired to do, but I'm back now, and it's time to restore balance to the force. That one was for Gui. As we get ready to make some announcements about the future of the show, I also want to warn the haters and the zeros. We've been at this a long time. We live for this stuff. This isn't our first, second, or 10th rodeo. We've seen a lot of dipshits come and go. We revel in making you angry enough to show your asses. It's glorious. We've got midterms coming up. There's no time for bullshit. This administration is cooking and real change simmers. If you're spending your entire day bitching and whining with 3/4 of the term still to go, then please find the exits. There's no time for it. It's not infighting when you excise a cancer killing the host. It's outfighting because you're not part of any movement I'm familiar with. Looking forward to big things ahead. Can't wait to tell you about it. Dan. And then last one here. 3 million views on the post below this one. Here's why. The support for the Trump administration in the working world is strong, and people are tired of the endless bullshit from the black pillar chicken little grifters. Watch their tactics, and once you see them, you'll never unsee them. They use a couple of different tactics to bullshit you. First, they overload you with information, but they underwhelm you with evidence. Here's an example of what I mean. They'll try to convince you that John Smith robbed a bank, so they'll data download you on you and lose you in the chaos. They'll tell you things that might be true, but aren't evidence of anything. They'll tell you John was in the bank that day, that John knew someone who worked there, that John was arrested 10 years ago for a misdemeanor. But they won't tell you that the fingerprints, video, and DNA of the thief matches someone else. Solid investigators sift through chaotic information to mine the evidence gems. Charlatans and morons do the opposite. Second, black pillars will rarely take on the president directly. They know they'll get destroyed by the boss and wind up in the political graveyard of egomaniacs who thought they could take the president on with bullshit. As a proxy fight, they try to pick off his allies, knowing many of them are limited in ways they can fight back. Well, I'm back now, and I'm putting this bullshit to a stop. Everyone inside the administration I crossed paths with is busting their asses to move the needle on real change. You can do things fast, or you can do things correctly. You can rarely do both in government. Even with those constraints, the administration's accomplishments are breathtaking. I want to be clear on this point. Intra-party movement policy disagreements are healthy and natural, but endless pessimism meant to strategically attack a movement from the inside is not about policy, it's political cannibalism. And many of these grifters are hiding their real agendas from you, and that leads me to my next point. Third, the black pillars are infamous for telling you an administration policy or action is going to lead to the end of the world before the policy has even been given time to demonstrate results. You're seeing it now with regard to Venezuela. Will it work out? Maybe. We'll all see, but maybe give it a minute before you attack the inside from inside the tent while pretending you're an ally. Black pillars and grifters asked for this fight, not us, but I'm absolutely down to fight. Absolutely down. Whew. Go ahead, Ash, and then I'll get mine.
So I think that we're seeing a coordinated messaging shift within the White House. If you or the administration, executive branch, you will recall over the holiday when Harmeet Dillon said she needed to put her knitting needles down, and then she called everybody hoes and grifters, right?
Yeah.
This seems to be they're taking a more aggressive, offensive approach to people that are critical of the administration. I don't think this is a good look. I don't think that this will have the desired effect. I think the desired effect is more division. Because that's naturally what's going to happen. So if you go to Dan Bongino's Twitter account, you will see him reposting a bunch of really nasty stuff, right? Like, calling Matt Gaetz a piece of shit and all of these kinds of things, which, it's like, if this is his, I'm out now, right? I'm not bound by the handcuffs of the government anymore. We're going to take everybody on now. One, I think that he has a, like it or not, and it's not blackpilling and grifting to acknowledge public sentiment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Public sentiment is down on the FBI. People are not getting when we were talking about the FBI and reforms at the FBI and Kash Patel coming in as FBI director, we were expecting that we were going to see the Kash Patel that talked about what he would do in that role, right? Mm-hmm. It's going to be a 24/7 D-class machine, and we're going to get all these things out. We're going to roll these people up. We know who they are. Wrote a book called Government Gangsters. Brian and I covered it on Badlands Book Club that goes through in detail where the bad guys are and where the obstruction has happened and where some of this treason is happening. And it is treason because it's on behalf of foreign nations and globalists. So when we go in, so we have expectations, and maybe those expectations are misaligned. It's based on a lot of their expectations are based on a lot of their own words and promises and what they said was going to happen. But it's not there is nothing unethical, immoral, or wrong about questioning where we are in the process of what we were promised. What President Trump told us in 2017 is that he was giving power back to the people, and that what truly matters is not which party controls our government, but whether our government is controlled by the people. So the people expressing concern about the way that things are going is not grifting or blackpilling. Now, I don't know that he's talking about that specifically or that he's talking about us. Looking at his Twitter today, it seems like he's talking about people that are anti-Israel. There's a lot of that kind of response to the what did he call it, the people that are kind of inside the tent trying to destroy. It appears to be that's the anti-Israel faction. This is going to be a problem for the administration if this is the line that they're taking. If it's a targeted messaging shift and it's intentional, they're deploying Dan Bongino without government guardrails to go out and manage this problem, and his approach is to be a hammer about anti-Israel and questioning Republicans, then that, I think we will lose the midterms, John.
I don't know. I like Dan Bongino. And I'm excited for him to get back in the podcast game. I think it was deliberate. I think there was this void that was left when he took the job at the FBI, and it was filled with like Tim Pool and Candace Owens and all this drama. And I don't think a lot of those people are good faith actors just good faith podcasters. I think they're bad faith actors in a lot of ways. Maybe even paid actors. I don't know for sure. But I think him coming out of the FBI to do this is to combat their messaging. I'm torn on this because I don't necessarily agree that it's the right approach, but I love the friction. Like, I'm excited to see any friction like this, because I think that's the more people you have like being condemned for even questioning something, the more people you'll piss off. Like, why can't I just ask, where we're at on this thing? It's okay to question something while it's still supporting Trump and broadly like supportive of everything that they're doing in the administration. You can take that stance while criticizing things where we're at. And that's what it's this weird divide that's been created. And a lot of people like live by this. Like, if you question one thing, if you are not in total unison with everything that Trump says and does, all of a sudden you're a black pillar doomer and like you need to be removed like a cancerous tumor from the movement. Like, how does that make any sense? Why are we not allowed to question anything? There's no progress to be made there. So I want to see how he handles this. Friction is good, but maybe he's just going to try to weed out like the actual bad faith actors, which I think would be great.
Well, mandated unity is the opposite of what we're trying to accomplish, where it's not, there is no, it's almost like you guys aren't trusting the plan hard enough. We tried to tell you to get on board and unify, and now we're going to make you unify.
Yeah.
Bold move, Dan. Let's see how it works out for you. I don't think it's going to go the way they think.
I'll show you a couple of these posts here. So first, Matt Gaetz responded, Grok, when did Dan Bongino run for office and what did he perform as a candidate? And Dan Bongino, maybe if I spent more time at shady parties with moneyed insiders, I would have won. I heard you know a bit about that. You've always been a dick, by the way, getting off your daddy like a sucking little doggy. When I first met you in the Panhandle, I knew you were a piece of shit. It's written all over that phony face of yours. And then Matt responded, I'm glad you remember meeting me so many years ago. I recall you gave a moving speech about your time in law enforcement. I told you I liked it. I'm deeply proud of my father. We make a great team. Are you saying having a successful father is a bad thing? Did you share that viewpoint with President Trump or Don Jr.? I share your disdain for moneyed insiders. That's why I was the only Republican in Congress who refused lobbyist and PAC donations. Why are you angry at me? Because you don't like my face? This is your big white pill message against the doomers that I have a bad face? You made a post about being a candidate for office during the Tea Party movement and twice thereafter. I didn't know that full history, so I simply asked Grok if you had won any of those elections. Apparently, you underperformed as a political candidate, but you're a world-class streamer. Cool. Take a chill pill, Dan. Use code MATT10. Love the shameless plug. And then I think he might have responded. But anyway,
So consider, everyone, that Dan Bongino is saying we're not having this division anymore. You guys are inside the tent and you're creating division. And so what I'm going to do is come in here and start absolutely attacking you verbally, right? Like I'm going to like there's parts on his Twitter where it's going back and making the allegations about the underage girls again for Matt Gaetz. Like Bongino is going hard. We'll recall, and this is the last thing I'll say, and then I'll let you get back to your show. My 10-minute spot was like a ghost of base Patrick. Is that I think it was last week or the week before, we had Alex Jones and Patrick Byrne freaking out because Dan Bongino was going to come out and they're coming after us. They're attacking my wife. They're attacking it was General Flynn, Dan Bongino and General Flynn. They're attacking my wife. They're attacking my son. They're doing these things, et cetera, et cetera. And then Alex Jones walked it back and said, I
didn't see the walk back.
Oh, yeah. No, he said, let me be clear. What Dan's going to do is basically talk shit about us. It was like Dan Bongino is going to say mean things about us on his podcast. Did not match what we saw on the Alex Jones show. The level of kind of what I thought was fear.
That's right. Yeah.
Like fear. But we could be seeing like this is, it's a Trumpomania kayfabe fight. They're setting it up. Dan Bongino is going to come after us. And now Dan Bongino is going after, people that are saying unsanctioned by Republicans things. So I don't know. I think a lot of that stuff is fake. I think all of it's gay, and I'm here for it though, because like you, I think the friction is good. And when we have conflict, we can get to the right answer. If we have consensus and everybody is more concerned with harmony than with figuring out what's true and what's right and what we as a people want for our nation and what we're going to do, if we're more focused on harmony, then we're never going to get to the right answer. The way that we get to the right answer is the battlefield of ideas and highly frictional conflict. So excited about it, here for it.
It's going to be interesting. But thanks, Ash. What time is your show tonight?
6 p.m. Eastern.
6 p.m. Eastern. Make sure you guys tune into that. That'll be a good one. Colonel Tanner will be on. I'll see you later. We'll have you back on again soon.
Bye, guys.
All right. With the 15 minutes or so I got left, we could cruise through some headlines, and I'll talk with you guys. Cece says now's the time for me to call Matt Gaetz and get him on the show. Should I just get him on to have him try to start more drama? That'd be fun. Let me get this the right size. That is what she said. Okay, no update on the Doge website. I should probably refresh that. I don't think I did. Silver, I just refreshed this a minute ago, and check this out. It's over $80 right now, $81.52. Amazing. Hope you guys have been buying your physical gold and silver from badlandsgold.com like I have been asking you to nicely in a non-financial advicey kind of way. Bitcoin is down a little bit from yesterday, but still over 90, which is great. I think a lot of things are trending upwards with the Venezuela situation, which is not all that surprising. I'm going to have to pick and choose my stories here. Hilton removed a hotel from its systems after a video showed refusal to book rooms for DHS in Minnesota. So that was kind of circulating all over Twitter today. I won't actually show the video, but that headline nailed what happened. Skip that one. Trump has announced a fraud investigation in California. I think that's good. Dan 1.0 said to question everything. Dan 2.0, not so much. I am curious to see like the Dan Bongino thing. Like I said, I like Dan. I've met him. I like his show. I think his content is much better than, I guess I've never really given the other content creators a chance, but like back before I got into this stuff in 2019, 2020, after I discovered the Spygate stuff, I would listen to Dan every day. I love listening to Dan Bongino. Listen to him all the way and through really, I think probably Joe Biden's inauguration. And after that, I just like, he kind of stopped talking about the election fraud as much and if at all. And it just seemed, I don't know, it was kind of disheartening. Like, but I've always liked him. And after I met him, I was like, he seems like a genuine guy. I think he went into the FBI with honest intentions, and he's getting a lot of flack for coming out of it as if it was his fault and he just realized he couldn't get the job done. I don't know if that's the case. I do think it was more of a family situation. You miss your family, that'd be tough. So I don't know. I'm curious to see how this goes. I figured it was more of a messaging thing. Take back the messaging, and that's a good move. And we'll see how he does it. Because I don't think blackpilling I don't think like going after people who are simply questioning, asking questions, like legitimate concerns or like, hey, I don't agree with this. But there's a difference there between that and an actual trying to divide the movement. And we got to find out where that line is. Like we need to figure out what it means to actually try to divide the movement, which I think there are definitely people out there trying to do, and have some sort of progress created around the ideas, the different ideas that people have. We're not going to get it if we're all just like in lockstep. You can't, no dissent. That's retarded. Nobody wants that'd be the most boring thing ever. So we can't have that. I think his little piece of the mission was completed. That's definitely possible. I want to interview him. Honestly, I do have a lot of questions. I'd love to ask him some questions. And like I DM'd him after he announced that he was leaving, and it's like, hey man, think about your prayer, you're my prayers or whatever. And he responded. Like I might try to actually interview him. I'd probably have to go down to like Florida to do it. But I think we have to go to Florida anyway. CC, maybe we should line that up. Who knows? Maybe now that he's back, he won't respond, or we won't want to do that, but we'll see. Talked about that. HHS slashes vaccine schedule as CDC promotes COVID vaccine over natural immunity. They reduced the number of vaccines recommended for all children to 11 from 17. Wasn't it up at like 50 before the year started? I don't remember. This explains the damage to maybe Maduro's wife's face. Maduro and his wife hit their heads as they tried to flee U.S. forces. By hit their head, they mean they're punched. Like they punched in the face. They fell into a doorknob, fell down the stairs. I want to see if they have pictures, but they don't. Anyway. Anything else in the chat? Misbehaving Irishman. Any person, general or not, that can destroy a movement with a single post should be viewed with much skepticism. I don't think anybody's out there except Trump himself, maybe, that could have that kind of pull. AOB 22. Our founding fathers had different opinions, and that was good. I don't think any of them were black pillars. Yeah, I wonder when that started. Like when did people start attributing like earnest, honest questions or concerns or points of view with black pilling? I've definitely noticed it a lot the last like year. I don't know if it came before that, but like this whole like you don't get to question anything without being considered anti-Trump. Like that's been going on this entire year, pretty hot and heavy. And it's really stupid. Miserable people out there. Yep. Changing the meanings of words. Yeah, there's a lot of that too. Like regime. People have changed the definition of regime and the definition of change to fit their narratives. Here, check this out. This is a future regime change operations potentially being discussed.
It has been the formal position of the U.S. government since the beginning of this administration, frankly, going back into the previous Trump administration, that Greenland should be part of the United States. The president has been very clear about that. That is the formal position of the U.S. government.
Right, but can you say that military action against Greenland is off the table?
It wouldn't be military action against Greenland. The Greenland has a population of 30,000 people, Jake. The real question is, by what right does Denmark assert control over Greenland? What is the basis of their territorial claim? What is their basis of having Greenland as a colony of Denmark? The United States is the power of NATO. For the United States to secure the Arctic region, to protect and defend NATO and NATO interests, obviously Greenland should be part of the United States. And so that's a conversation that we're going to have as a country. That's a process we're going to have as a community of nations.
So you can't take it off the table that the U.S. would use military force to seize Greenland. You can't take it off the table.
Jake, I understand you're trying very hard to, which again is your job. I respect it. It's great to get exactly the headline, right? That catchy headline.
I'm trying to get an answer to the question.
That says Miller refuses to rule out the United States should have Greenland as part of the United States. There's no need to even think or talk about this in the context that you're asking of a military operation. Nobody's going to fight the United States militarily over the future of Greenland.
One last question,
doesn't
Stephen.
Make any sense.
I thought that was great. And honestly, I would be pro adding Greenland to the United States if that's what their people wanted. And it obviously makes sense for us, you know, from a national security standpoint, probably from a financial standpoint in terms of whatever rare earths they got up there. How many people live in Greenland? I'll look that up quick. And then we'd have Canada surrounded. They have 56,000 people. I mean, do you guys think a majority of those people would want to become part of the United States? Honestly, if it became a state, that state would be the closest to like actually representing the form of government that the founders intended, with like one representative for 56,000 people. There's no fight, we're just taking it. Bravis says they're not a sovereign nation. What are they then? Because it's Denmark's, right? Greenland is not a fully sovereign nation. It's a self-governing, autonomous territory within the Kingdom of Denmark that has the right to move toward independence. Yeah, I mean, we can just go take it from Greenland if they want that. Weed should be free in Greenland. It's in the name. I did see somebody left a comment or something about Glenn Beck. I did see a clip of his yesterday, and I thought this was interesting because he's trying to make it. It's a long clip. I don't want to play the whole thing. I kind of want to talk about it though, but I'm almost out of time. I might go a little longer today. Let me just play some of this. I'm going to speed it up a little bit. He's trying to sell this, and I don't know the demographics of his audience, but I'm assuming it leans more normie, and it probably leans older. But he's trying to sell this was about the oil that's why we did this. And it's an America First move and all those things. And I think that's why it's interesting to me, honestly, because it's very obvious that he's like trying to push that narrative very hard, because that's what the Trump administration is kind of trying to sell it as, when I think it's totally different. The way he talks about how much oil China gets from Venezuela is totally ass backwards. Let me play a little bit of that.
So I want to go over, I put a chalkboard up, and if you're watching us at glennbeck.com, you'll see Venezuela.
Yeah, Bravis, they're overselling it.
China, Iran, they're all connected. All of these things are connected. And if somebody tells you this is all about the oil, listen to them, because it is. But I don't know if they understand what they're even saying about that, and I'll explain in a second. If they're saying, well, this is about drugs, okay, this is about terror, this is about the hemisphere, this is about the U.S. military and the war machine. Yes, to all of those things. So let me pull them apart. First of all, right now, Venezuela has the largest proven oil reserves on Earth, 303 billion barrels. That's $17+ trillion at the current market value. They also claim about 8,000 to 10,000 tons of gold that is still in ground. Okay. Now, here's the part you're not being told. With all of that oil, we don't need the oil. Have you noticed the gas prices? They keep coming down. We don't need the oil. We need to pull the oil out of the ground ourselves, which we are. We need to refine it ourselves, which we are. China needs the oil. China buys 60 to 90% of all of Venezuela's crude exports. China also buys 85 to 90% of all of the oil from Iran. China also buys nearly half of all Russian oil. What's happening right now? Well, 60 to 90% of all of the exports from Venezuela now not going to China. How is China going to be able to power all of their electricity needs? How are they going to do that if they don't get oil from Venezuela? Oh, and what else has been destabilized this weekend? Iran. They buy 85 to 90% of all of the oil in Iran, and those are huge oil reserves as well. So
he's kind of missing the boat here. First of all, I've seen this passed around that like China buys 75% of its oil from Venezuela. That's not actually true. They buy 75% of Venezuela's oil exports, but it actually only accounts for less than 5% of what China actually imports. Only 4 to 4.5% of China's oil imports come from Venezuela. That's a very small number in total. And then he's like, well, how are they going to power their stuff? They're going to get it from Russia or Iran or somewhere else. They are not actually like super duper dependent on Venezuelan oil, so it's interesting. Like I got to imagine Glenn Beck knows that, but he's throwing the stats out there that are inverted with a little bit of falsity to it, the way he's implying it, but he wants to sell the story of why Trump did this. And it's not because of Venezuela oil for us. It's to take it away from China, when that's not really the case. Just an interesting way to sell it. You know what I mean? Bravis says totally false. Oh, no, lies. 75% of Venezuela. Which part's false? What are you talking about, Bravis? Just saying it's a lie doesn't do me any good. Explain yourself. John, I also read that China controls Venezuela's productions of the silver mines. Yeah, there's quite a bit of like it's pretty informal the way they do it, like gangs, cartels who do a lot of these mines. Like I was looking into it last night. There's this mineral down there. I can't remember, get the right word to call it. I think it's like tantalum or something. Coltan metals, which is like a tantalum. Anyway, they have these mines down there. They have like this vein where they can get some of this stuff, and it's used in all sorts of, technology things. Could be big in the future. And I was like, okay, well, what companies mine it right now? They're like, well, really none. It's basically informal drug cartels and gangs that do it through China and all that stuff. It's going to be interesting to see who gets the bid there. I wonder if it's going to be like MP Materials or something. Bravest says, Pure Elijah, I agree with you. Okay, I see. Rare earths, yep. It's about the election physically shutting down Dominion. You know, I don't know if I buy that excuse because we were told it was so easy with $15 worth of Bitcoin, $15 to somebody in Japan, they were able to win the election in 2024. I bet if we invested like even $20 or $25, imagine what we could do with our elections. We just got to give it to the Three Musketeers, y'all. Russia and China paid for all the machinery to get the oil. They built it all. There's more silver and gold in Bolivia. Yeah, the silver and gold stuff is an interesting angle too. I mean, there's a lot of reasons. I understand the justifications for what Trump is doing here. Totally agree. It's in line with the national security strategy in terms of like, this is our hemisphere. We got to do what we got to do. The story we're being told by the mainstream media, though, is a false one. And that's more annoying to me than anything. Just be honest about it. Like, Maduro took a negotiated exit. There's weird things going on there. And then on top of it, it's less about the oil than it is the rare earth stuff and what Iran was doing down there and what Russia was doing down there. Like, not only are we putting the three branches in their constitutional boxes, we're putting the three world powers into their territorial boxes as well. Mainstream media is noise. It is noise for sure, but it's less noisy when people like online in the community aren't regurgitating everything the mainstream media tells them. It's like we go in these cycles almost. It's like there's a story comes out, everybody takes what the mainstream media says about it at face value. It's always like I don't want to say traumatic, but the viral stories. Some of them are traumatic too. But like the story right now of how the Venezuelan capture took place is very viral. And people are just like, this is what I'm being told. These are the people I trust, positions of power telling me it. And so I'm going to believe it, full stop. And anybody who says otherwise, you're blackpilling. But then some time passes, like, oh, well, maybe it's not quite what they said originally. It's different though now. Like they told me differently now. And you just keep getting further and further away from the actual story, or at least the date it happened. And the entire story has completely flipped a lot of times what we were saying about it in the first place. And you guys are like all open-minded and stuff. And it's like, okay, we finally learned our lesson about the mainstream media. And then another event happens and everybody's sucked right back in. And it just keeps going, and never ends. That's the info war in a nutshell, and why we don't progress. Richard Rohr with his daily news is fake and gay. It's about ruining deep state, kid. Maybe the capture was in a territorial box, not in a real person, so he was taken. The capture was in a territorial box, not in real person, so he was taken. Everything is fake, but this is real. This time, until we find out it wasn't real. But then something new will come that will be real. Jessica, I know several people that didn't believe a thing the mainstream media said ever until Ukraine and Russia. Then they believed it all. Yeah. Do you want to be captured? Is that a threat? What does that mean? No, I don't want to be captured. It holds China in check. China keeps refining the rare earth metals, and America will process Venezuela's very thick oil, keep that energy coming China's way. Well, I also think, what Trump's doing here, and a lot of the stuff, you can kind of see it now in hindsight, right? A lot of the moves that Trump made in terms of domestic manufacturing and bringing our, the rare earth minerals and producing it and refining it and all that stuff, bringing that in domestically, that's like you're setting up this infrastructure, right? Now we just need the actual rare earths to do this. And voila, Venezuela just so happens to appear. I guess they've been there forever, but the situation, it's like, okay, well, we're ready. Let's go do this. Let's negotiate that exit now and start doing the things. That's what we're seeing. China lost its oil supply chain? No. Elaborate surrender. Yeah, that's what I think it was. Bravest. My new favorite shirt is the Sovereign Alliance sweatshirt. So far, the infrastructure is all theory. It has to be built. Yeah, there's some switch theory stuff there for sure. Not proven, but yeah, I agree. Mike Irons, Bongino's broken. Oh, I want to see what happens. See what happens with it. But guys, I am running a little late here, so I'm gonna sign you guys off. I think Ghost is probably live on his show today. Double check that. Oh, actually, no, he's out of town. Never mind. So yeah, I'm gonna sign off, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. I'll be back tomorrow, right here, 1 p.m. Eastern, Daily Herold. But first, let's listen to some soft disclosure stuff. Get yourself some beard oil. I've been rubbing it just all over my face lately. My skin's doing great. Hit the thumbs up, everybody.
Get you some of that beard oil.
Now that I'm alone, I got the close-up. Do you see how awesome my beard looks right now?
I use the beard oil every single day. First thing. Comes out feeling all silky smooth. I take the dropper and I manually apply the oil directly to my mustache. Nice and, oh man, I love it. And then I do drops all throughout the hair, and then I just rub it all in. And then I top it off with the tallow stick on the face.
Dude, I feel like I have to grow a beard just to try this beard oil. It sounds
Do it, Jay.
amazing.
It's all from softdisclosure.com, and the best part about it is you'll be supporting Badlands Media, Annie from Willow and Farms, and basically 3 of Annie's neighbors. So that's 5 total American companies that you'd be supporting with one purchase.
I have been using the Soft Disclosure scentless beard oil every day after the shower. It looks unkempt, but it feels silky smooth. I want to look a little wild and unapproachable, but for the woman I trust, she'll be like, oh, it's actually kind of soft. He is approachable after all. Otherwise, stay away. And Soft Disclosure will help you too with that, if that's the very specific vibe you're going for.
That is very specific, yes. You guys are supporting American businesses when you do that. It's absolutely incredible, and you get a great, great product.
Let's get started.
That's what she said.
Oh, that's real good.